like 3D. Hello and welcome to my review of Kung Fu Panda 2, starring Jack Black, Angelina Jolie, and Gary Oldman. 2 Kung Fu Panda movies in a row. Let's do this. Kung Fu Panda 2 takes place very soon after the first film. We find Po, our main character, has finally come into his own as the Dragon Warrior, kicking ass and taking names with the Furious Five. When all of a sudden, Lord Shen, a peacock bent on revenge... Never thought I'd ever say that in my life. That's incredibly stupid. Goes on a rampage to destroy Kung Fu with this evil weapon he's invented and to take over all of China. I come into this review bearing 2 ailments, if you will. First off, I have a pretty bad headache because of some nauseating 3D that was $16. Screw you, 3D. And second of all, I have a not terrible but pretty decent case of sequelitis. And don't get me wrong, I did enjoy Kung Fu Panda 2, but it's not nearly as good as the first film. The main thing I like about this film is that we got a little more into the Furious Five's dynamic as a team, and we finally got to see them work together as a team and pull off some pretty badass fight scenes and kind of see the group dynamic a little more. It really helped push the film forward, and I liked how this one was pretty much kind of a group on a mission film as opposed to the first one, which was kind of a training film. Also, the great voice work is back from the original, especially Jack Black. He did, like I said before in the last review of Kung Fu Panda, he just has such expression and wit in the way he plays Po, just such a wide-eyed excitement that makes the character very compelling. Also, the large-scale set pieces are back, in slightly less impressive fashion. There are some pretty good Kung Fu scenes in here, especially at the beginning. The first fight in here is pretty badass. I mean, it's just filmed so well. It just goes all over the place. There's all this Kung Fu going on. And then the rest of it is honestly a little subpar. While the first one, by the end of it, had the feel of an epic Kung Fu movie, this one has the feel more of a Kung Fu movie that's made for kids. Here are my problems with the film. We go into Po's past in this movie, which I like, because it kind of takes the movie in a bit of a dark direction. The problem is it's just a misguided direction. First off, the actual past itself, while it is pretty touching, it's just the typical Disney past. I mean, it doesn't really have any real originality in its writing, which is something that was very prevalent in the first Kung Fu Panda. And I don't want to spoil too much, but let's just say Po and Bambi are probably in the same support group. And I honestly wouldn't have minded the unoriginality so much if they just followed through on the darkness. This movie really can't decide on whether it wants to be a silly kids movie or a dark, kind of delving into the character's past movie, and it just can't commit to either. So when we get to the scene where Po takes revenge on the peacock, because let's just say the peacock was involved in Po's past, there's no weight to it because it's treated like it's a silly action scene when there really should be so much more emotional weight to it. And also, I found the humor in this film to just be a little more forced than in the first film. There are quite a few laugh-out-loud moments in this film, but 90% of it is just the typical, oh look, he's a fat panda, watch him fall around. And that's funny to a certain extent, especially when he's fighting and he's kind of using his weight as an advantage against his opponents. But I feel like if this is going to be a 6-movie series, which is what it's going to be, I don't want to see a 6-movie series out of fat jokes. And then we get to the 3D. It's non-existent. But overall, I don't hate this movie. In fact, I had a lot of fun with it. It just lacks that spark of just creativity and originality that the first one had, and it can't really decide what tone it wants to have yet. The movie does kind of allude to the third one towards the end, and the direction that I think they're going in might lead to something a little more interesting. I just hope if they're going to continue this series, they make it a little more serious and a little less silly. But overall, I am going to give it 3 stars. It is a fun summer movie, but it isn't nearly as good as the first film. And if you like this review, subscribe to my channel, because there'll be plenty more reviews and videos coming up.